and if I had to boil it down to just a few words, I would describe it as the art of problem solving or the process of problem solving. And there are like many aspects that, of course, like play a role in that process or in that art form. I'll pass it on.
Hi. I actually went to Wikipedia for this one.
Oh, which is kind of depressing, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of a buzzword, honestly. Design thinking is kind of a buzzword, and I like using it with business people because it kind of gives me a convenient tagline for all this ineffable stuff we do as designers. But I think it's become kind of a catchphrase for things involving user empathy, generative and synthetic thinking, prototyping, working collaboratively, and a lot of things like that. So I think design thinking is whatever you want to make of it.
So basically, it's like the branding of 1990 is design thinking.
I totally agree with that. There are 7 steps involved, and I gotta ask, like, what are those differences between them? Because, like, as I make artwork, then I definitely mix them up, except maybe when I form the idea and then doing the research, they will be different. But I really believe that when you try and resolve or think of something that people can interact with or appreciate, there needs to be an eloquent way to organize and systematize things, and then people can approach with it that they can also relate to.
I'm not a designer, so all I can lend
Thank
to
you,
this
Professor.
discussion is a little bit of historical perspective. And at the risk maybe of being tedious, the thing that interests me about the question and the panel is, based on the work I've done, what I understand about being a designer now is the ways in which it's a different situation from being a designer 200 or 300 years ago. And the thing that more than anything else stands out as different now is the fact that our consciousness is absolutely exploded spatially. We are, through printing, through email, through text messages, through television, through all the different media. You know, we wake up, we send a text message to, somebody in Italy, we hear about a massacre in Syria, we, see that our mother on the East Coast has left a message, whatever. And this is historically unprecedented. For most of human history, people's entire consciousness was spatially located where they were. And I think that the implications of this, as well as the evidences of this in design, are worth thinking about and worth observing and being conscious of. I'll probably have more to say about that, but I'll say that's all I'll say for now. You have your own microphone.
Yes, I do. What you just said made me think of something totally different, but I think it relates. I've done some work with Native American communities with the Lakota tribe in South Dakota, and in the Lakota language they have no word for art and they have no word for religion. And I think we've gotten to a point in our culture where we have to come up with a word like design thinking to describe something that people used to do all the time. And I think there are great tools that the design mind has that can be applied to a lot of issues, but I think it used to be really natural. And I think it's a matter of getting past the segregated categories that Western thinking has applied on us, and dividing work into very narrow columns and getting back to a more generalized approach to solving problems in a multitude of ways. It's not just graphic design, it's not just architecture, it's not just branding. It can be all of those things at the same time, and it can be history and poetry and food and
So it's basically semantics that are coming in the way of the reality of what we're doing ever since, right?
Well, I think it's semantics, and I think it's the university system of partitioning things up into degrees.
Right.
And, business wanting to, break things up into separate pieces.
So is thinking part of business and design, is this part of art then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's kind of unfortunate.
I think that we've just drawn too many boundaries around the things that humans need to do.
So when you're talking, I agree. So I think the one thing that's interesting to me too about design thinking, what all of you are saying, it's not a new phrase, it's not a new line. We've already been doing it. You're basically saying it's used as a means for talking to your business people and your clients. So it really is about culture then. It's about taking what we already know about culture and evolving it. So if that's the case, what are we doing wrong with our culture and evolving it to understand how our process works?